Three orphaned sisters lived with their grandmother in a small cottage. One evening, as they sat around the fireplace, the eldest said, "I wish to marry the Sultan's cook so I can have all the food and meat I desire." The middle sister then shared her wish, saying, "I wish to marry the Sultan's confectioner so I can have all the sweets and cakes I want." When it was the youngest sister's turn, the others asked, "And who do you wish to marry?" She hesitated and said, "If I tell you, you'll laugh at me." After they promised not to, she revealed, "I want to marry the prince." Her sisters laughed and mocked her, saying, "Why would the prince choose you to marry?" Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more of your favorite stories. As fate would have it, the Sultan, who was on a hunting trip, happened to pass by their cottage. When he knocked on the door to ask for a drink of water, he overheard their conversation. Just then, the youngest sister, with tears in her eyes, stepped out of the cottage, but wiped them away upon seeing a stranger standing there, travel-worn. She offered him a jug of water, a piece of warm barley bread, and some oil, saying, "Please forgive me, sir. This is all we have in our home." Hearing the man's voice, the two older sisters came out and scolded their younger sister. "You must knead the flour and bake us some bread, but don't eat any of it, since you gave your share to the man." The youngest sister agreed. As the Sultan ate, he watched the girls and was impressed by the youngest sister's kindness and generosity. He thought to himself, "I must reward her for her goodness and teach her two wicked sisters a lesson they won't forget." The next day the Sultan sent his guards to bring the three sisters to the palace. When they stood before him, they recognized the stranger from the day before and felt a wave of fear, especially the two older sisters who had treated him poorly. The Sultan reassured them and asked the eldest, "Repeat your wish from last night." Embarrassed, she replied, "I wish to marry your cook." The middle sister then said, "I wish to marry your confectioner." The Sultan replied, "Tomorrow I will marry you both to the men you desire." However, he did not ask the youngest sister about her wish, and her sisters taunted her, saying, "He'll probably marry you off to his camel driver or dog keeper." That night the Sultan sent one of his maidservants to take the youngest sister to the bath, where she was groomed, dressed in fine silk and adorned with jewels. The maidservant told her, "You will have your own room, but for now go down to the garden. You will find the prince there, but do not speak to him until the third day." The young girl wandered through the palace gardens, admiring the animals and picking flowers. Everyone who saw her wondered who she was, for she was extraordinarily beautiful, with large eyes and crimson lips. Prince Fakhr al-Din was sitting with his friends when she passed by. One of them exclaimed, "I've never seen a more beautiful and delicate maiden in my life. She must be the daughter of a king." The prince couldn't take his eyes off her as she walked away, captivated by her beauty. He said to himself, "I must find out who she is." He went to the women's quarters in the palace to ask about her, but no one could tell him anything. On the second day, the prince tried to speak to her, but she only tossed him a handkerchief embroidered with a sweet scent that enchanted him. By the third day, the prince eagerly awaited her arrival. When she appeared, he greeted her and said, "Hello, I am Prince Fakhr al-Din. I always see you alone. Where are your servants and maidservants?" She replied, "I serve myself and have no one with me." The prince was amazed and asked, "What is the use of wealth if not to enjoy it?" She responded, "To me, wealth is for doing good and meeting needs, not for possessing the fleeting pleasures of the world. Everything ends one day, and the lesson is always in the outcome." The prince was further impressed by her wisdom and eloquence. They sat on a bench, and he listened to her speak, charmed by her words and grace. When she was ready to leave, the prince couldn't bear the thought of parting with her and asked, "Where should I go if I want to ask your father for your hand in marriage?" She answered, "Go to the Sultan. He knows best of my worth and place." The prince immediately went to his father, who noticed the confusion on his face. "What troubles you, my son? You seem to have something on your mind. Speak up and don't let worry consume you." The prince pulled out the girl's handkerchief, pressed it to his chest and said, I've fallen in love with the one who gave me this from the first moment I saw her. She has captured my heart and soul. Perhaps you know who she is, for she asked me to come to you." He then told his father everything that had happened. The Sultan took the handkerchief, noting its exquisite embroidery, and thought to himself, "It seems fate led me to that cottage so I could find a perfect wife for my son." He then said to the prince, "She may not be of royal blood, but she has the qualities of a queen. She may not be wealthy, but she is rich in spirit. She may not be of noble birth, but she has the nobility of mind. Do you still wish to marry her?" The prince replied, "I desire no one else, father. I will fall ill if she is not mine." And so they hoped and prayed, leaving the rest to God's will, for He is the most generous, and nothing is impossible for Him, the Almighty. Do not just read and leave. Leave a trace by offering a prayer, praise, or seeking forgiveness. Make the background music. Settings use as watermark text. Don't use iStock.